That's the minutes, I think, this time. Chair Hickman, are you ready? Okay, I'm gonna.
Recording in progress.
Right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Planning Commission on Tuesday, August 27, 2024. This meeting is called to order. I'd like to start the meeting by greeting our newest member, Stuart Summers. Welcome, Stuart. Thank you for your 17 years on the Design Review Board before coming here.
Warm up.
Okay. Margaret, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Commissioner Mercado,
Here.
Commissioner Prevatelli,
Here.
Commissioner Rodby. Here. Commissioner Summers,
Here.
Chair Haveman.
Here.
Chair, you have a quorum, and Commissioner Sade has an excused absence this evening.
Okay, thank you. Now to the order of the agenda. Are there any commissioners that would like to request changes to the order of the agenda? Okay. Next, we'll move to the meeting procedures. The City of San Rafael remains committed for all to participate in our public meetings. I want to welcome all that are making the time this evening to participate. Each member of the public may provide 3 minutes for comment. This will ensure we have the opportunity to hear from everyone. Margaret, please remind us how public comment will work this evening.
Thank you, Chair Haveman. This meeting is being recorded and streamed live through YouTube and through Zoom. Viewers can watch directly on Zoom using the link on the agenda or by dialing 669-444-9171 and entering the meeting ID 840-9897-7308 #. In order to provide oral testimony, however, speakers must be present in the chambers. Displayed on the podium is a timer that will help you stay within your allotted time format. You are invited, though not required, to introduce yourself and say what part of San Rafael that you reside in, or if you reside outside of San Rafael.
Thank you, Margaret. Next on the agenda is oral communication from the public. Remarks on non-agenda items are welcome at this time and may be on anything within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. Remarks on agenda items will be heard at the time the item is discussed. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak on items not on the agenda? It appears not. So next up is the consent calendar. The draft Planning Commission minutes of June 11, 2024 are before the commission this evening. Does anyone have any edits to suggest? If not, may I have a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right. Margaret, would you please take the roll?
Yes, Chair. Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Prevatelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodby,
Yes.
Commissioner Summers,
Abstain?
Chair Haveman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, before the Planning Commission this evening, we have one public hearing. It is a request for a time extension for the Marydale Townhomes entitlements. Before we start this item, I want to explain to everyone how this hearing will proceed. The staff person will give a presentation based on the staff report and attachments found in our packet. After she finishes her report, commissioners may ask questions of the staff. Then I'll allow the applicants. Then the applicant will give a presentation for the commission, followed by the opportunity for commissioners to ask questions of the applicant. And after their presentation, I'll open the public hearing and receive testimony. After all people present have had a chance to speak, I will close the hearing and bring the project back before the commission for deliberation. May we have the staff report, please?
Absolutely. For us this evening is a public hearing to consider a request for a time extension for the Marydale Townhomes project entitlements. We have 3 entitlements: tentative map, a use permit, environmental design review that would support the construction of a 45-unit condominium at 350 Marydale.
Sorry, minor technical difficulties while we're trying to advance the slide.
I can use mine. I can move on. You want me to
There
wait?
it is. No, wait, yeah, there you go.
This evening, I'll begin with an overview of the proposed project, give a little bit of background, and an overview of the request before the Planning Commission for the extension. Here is the location of the project site on the west side of 101, right near Northgate and across from the Civic Center. The proposed project includes the construction of 45 for-sale townhomes on a 2.28 acre site. The primary access is via Marydale Road with secondary access via Redwood Highway. 41 of the units would be 3-story townhomes and 4 would be stacked flats. There are overall 5 different building types. And the affordable housing requirement applicable to the project is that there are 2 deed restricted units on site and an in lieu fee of 2.5 units as well. There's an overview of the site plan that was approved and the elevations. This project has a bit of history going back to 2020 when the project was originally approved by City Council on February 3rd. The conditions of approval were modified in 2021 to align with the city's newly adopted affordable housing guidelines. And the affordable housing requirement was 20%. It was dropped to 10%. On May 17th, 2022, the applicant submitted a request for a 2-year extension of time for the entitlements. On June 14th, the Planning Commission met to discuss those entitlements and approved the extension, but a lesser amount of time than was requested by the applicant. The staff recommendation was to include conditions of approval that required an application for grading and building permits by December 30th, 2023. and grading or building permits to be obtained and grading / construction diligently commenced and pursued for all 9 buildings, 45 units by June 30th, 2024. At this time, the applicant has met a couple of the criteria and has submitted the permits on time. However, additional time is required to vest the final map and move the project forward. In order to extend the deadline, the applicant submitted a request for an extension to the tentative map, use permit, and design review on May 23rd of this year. And that is the reason for the meeting today, is to consider the request. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we have 3 permits and they all have different extension clauses. So we have, for the tentative map, we're looking at San Rafael Municipal Code Section 1501-130. For the use permit, it's 1422-140. And for the environmental design review, it is 1425-150. For the use permit and the environmental design review, the authority is with the deputy zoning administrator, but because of the authority under the tentative map, the entire package will be decided on by the Planning Commission this evening. So under the subdivision section of our code, there are a number of criteria that are applicable this evening. Just to draw your attention that initially applications for subdivision maps are approved for an initial 24 months. And extensions per our code are typically 12 months. There is a provision for them to be longer. And highlighted and underlined is a provision that the total timeline of the map shall not exceed 5 years. As you may have noted, the recommendation from staff is for a longer extension, which is based on the Subdivision Map Act. So I just wanted to highlight the differences there. So the Subdivision Map Act provides for a maximum of 6 years from the initial date. And the reason for staff making the recommendation for 6 years is 5 years gives us 6 months to finish up the affordable housing agreements, subdivision improvement agreements, and that just puts, I think, everybody in a really tough place. Typically, that's a 6 to 9 month process. And we want to make sure that our attorneys and staff and everybody has enough time to get all those entitlements and everything wrapped up correctly. So an initial study and mitigated negative declaration was prepared for the project and approved in 2020. Per CEQA section 15162, additional environmental review is not required when a neg deck has been approved for a project, and it has been determined by the lead agency on the basis of substantial evidence that the following criteria are met. So staff has reviewed the initial study and determined that there are no substantial changes to the project that require major revisions of the negative declaration due to new or substantially increased significant environmental effects. There's no substantial changes to the overall circumstances and baseline environmental conditions, and there's no new information of substantial importance. The applicant has provided a number of reasons to request the extension, and they're on the slide for you. Financial impediments due to increased interest rates and high construction costs, delays due to the COVID-19 pandemic, difficulty in procuring will-serve letters from the sanitary district, and a lengthy process to obtain a pipeline extension agreement from the Marin Municipal Water District. So there are 3 recommended actions for the Planning Commission to consider this evening. Option 1 is staff recommendation to approve the time extension and modify the conditions of approval and to grant the maximum 6-year timeline, which would be to February 3rd, 2026. Option 2 would be to respect the timeline outlined in our code, which would be 5 years to February 3rd, 2025. Option 3 would be for the Planning Commission to deny the time extension for the project. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
Do any commissioners have questions for staff?
I just had clarification on the well-served letter from the sanitation. What is there a problem or?
That may be better addressed to the applicant.
Applicant, that's what okay. Yes, there is. Okay, good.
Any other questions from commissioners? Okay, and I have no questions. Go ahead and invite the applicant to come up and make their presentation.
Good evening.
One
Michael
second.
Hooper with Campus Properties, and I am the developer and the applicant for this particular project. First of all, I want to thank you for showing up tonight, because this is a critical timeline issue for us, and we're down to the wire. And it looks like you really don't have an awful lot of other business, so I do appreciate you showing up on the kind of week before the holiday. So thank you for doing that. Christina's stolen a march on me because she's told you what I was going to say, or actually a lot more than I was going to say. But I did prepare this afternoon a very quick set of slides, which kind of summarizes some of the things that Christina mentioned. Be able to bring it up?
One minute. There we go.
I'll forget my lines if you can't.
I don't want to do that to you.
No. Oh, there we go. So this project at 350 Merridale, it actually started in late 2016. The first application was 2017. You want to go to the next slide. You've already seen a bit more detail on where the project is located. Basically, it's across the freeway from the Civic Center and just short of the new smart train station. So a true infill site. Can you show the next one, please? Again, you've seen this because Christina did just a great job. It's a pretty small site. It has the Las Colinas Creek at the north end. Or is that not picking up?
Okay, I just wasn't seeing all of them.
Okay. So Merridale is to the left, to the right is the freeway, to the north are storage units and the train station. The creek gets improved. We're set back from the creek, and you can see that we've managed to find a place for 9 buildings of different sizes with a variety of different units. If you want to pass on to the next one. Again, Christina's done it for me. The TM was approved February the 3rd, 2020, and the first expiration period was a little over 2 years later. We asked for an extension. You provided it. Current term expires in 3 days' time, and we've requested an extension to February the 3rd, 2026, which is the full period that is allowed under the Subdivision Map Act. I want to move on again, please. So where are we now? Well, we decided it took 2 years. When COVID hit, actually, when we got approvals, we probably had half a dozen different builder partners ready to come into it. 3 months later, we had none. And so COVID went on, and we weren't quite sure what we could do to attract some builder interest in it. And subsequently, we decided to go to the next stage. Ordinarily, we're able to bring in a builder partner when we have the tentative map and design review approval, the master plan, and that kind of thing. Well, at that time, and actually still today, that's not the case anymore. The builders are requiring a lot more certainty. Builders don't like uncertainty. They don't like the risk of permitting taking a long time. So we decided that we would take that risk for them. So here we are 2 years later, and having spent $750,000 on this little set of permits, and we've ended up with a demo and grading permit approved by third-party staff consultants, subdivision improvement plans, a final map ready to record, that's the biggie, even building permits approved by third-party reviewers. We've paid our fees for the massive building permit, and we've been through the process with Marin Municipal Water District and the Las Colinas Valley Sanitary District twice, because we had the same situation that we've got here. We ran out of time, and of course you have to go do it again, and they increase their fees and have more stringent standards. To answer your question while we're on that, Las Colinas, we found a little difficult to work with. Their definition of a, quote, will serve letter, frankly, wasn't worth the paper it was written on. It just says, yeah, we'll serve it. And then you get into the detail of how you provide the system for them to serve. And that took a very long time. And now we're into the process of updating that. You may have noticed in the conditions of approval a discussion about various alternatives, which was part of that discussion. Ultimately, we were able to build a new sewer line in Redwood and divert the flow first south, then west, then north, and across the Las Colinas Creek and up to the pump station. Took a lot of working out, in other words. Let's see, can you go to the next slide? So why do we need this extension? And the answer is the market died, literally died for 2 years. You know, as evidenced by the fact that we had half a dozen would-be partners, builders at one point, then we had none. And the market has been slow to recover. Part of that has been changes in interest rates and, of course, increases in construction costs. Overall, builders are taking many fewer risks. They don't want to get into these projects unless all I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Hence, we made that decision to spend the extra money to take the risk out of it for them. We are competing. It's not a marine game when it comes to production builders. Production builders, you know, largely are based in the Tri-Valley area, Pleasanton, San Ramon. They don't like coming to Marin because they view the projects as more risk-prone, entitlement risk-prone mainly, but Marin communities tend to be fairly particular and exacting about, you know, the plans that are needed. So we're really competing with projects from a much wider area. They much prefer to go to Tracy, Stockton, down the valley. They actually make more money per unit on those projects than they do in Marin. And that's in spite of the higher, you know, price points here. You know, it's all to do with construction costs. It's all to do with getting their people to Marin. It's a tough call to get guys to come to Marin, stay for 4 nights in a local hotel or elsewhere, and then they're gone again. So it's a logistics thing. So those are the reasons that we need the extension. We just need more time. We do have a builder partner now under contract. We'd love to say that we can get there before the rain starts. All the permits are in place, ready for that. So we're kind of keeping our cross that we can do it. But the one thing that we can't do is not have a TM extension. You know, we've got the FM final map based on the old TM, but unfortunately we let the TM expire. So if you do have any questions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do commissioners have questions for the applicant?
I have a question. Would you prefer 5-year extension or a 6-year extension?
I'd like the longest extension I can get. I'd rather not have to come back.
That's what I figured. Okay.
Yeah. And the longest is till February the 3rd, 2026, based on the Subdivision Map Act.
Okay.
Please.
The next question I have isn't necessarily related to my decision about how I'm going to vote. But I'm just curious, are there any things in the neighborhood that you would think could be improved by the city, not using your funds, but just city funds or other funds, grants, whatnot? Anything that comes to mind?
Yeah. Obviously, the connectivity is a big issue, for us. We want to be able to get people from our project to the Civic Center. We want to be able to get them to the smart station. We want to be able to get them across the rail line to all the shopping and all the services. Any improvements to the remainder of Marydale, to help with that, whether it's a crossing or an indirect route, the better. I've heard a lot of people, a lot of the builders that we've talked to have said, the appearance of Marydale isn't great. Some street improvements to Marydale would make it more attractive. So those are the things that, if the city does have some grant money, that would be wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
Jill, did you want to?
Yeah, just a philosophical question. So let's say it's February 2026. Where will the project be?
Be right back here asking for, we'd be going through the process that we went through with design review. We'd be asking for the three same permits. We might have to reconsider. Well, we would reconsider. I mean, if we haven't got a partner builder ready to build after 6 years, we'll be thinking about what the heck do we do here? We took the tenants out of the school buildings just before COVID, and that proved to be an unfortunate mistake. So there's been no income coming in for that period of time, but lots of security costs.
Anybody else? Just to make sure that I'm clear on it, staff mentioned that problems with Las Colinas and municipal, those problems have been worked out. You now have what you need to move forward from them.
Yeah, with both, it's a question of staff. They're so short-staffed, and they have so much demand on their time. And here we are, we're asking them to fit in with our time frame. They can't always do that. So it's frustrating. The will serve thing at Las Colinas, at the beginning it was silly because it was not worth the paper it was written on. Nobody would believe it. 1 page, 2 paragraphs, yes, we'll serve you, but nothing demonstrable to indicate that they weren't going to change their mind.
Right.
So,
okay. If there aren't any more questions, thank you very much. And now I would open the hearing to the public, but it appears as though there's nobody from the public here to speak. So we will close the hearing and bring it back to the commission for any discussion. Do any of the commissioners have any points of discussion on the project? Okay. Seeing no need for discussion or deliberation, as for a motion, somebody would like to offer a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution number 24-04 as in the staff report.
Okay. And do we have a second for the motion?
I'll second. And for clarity, this is for the full 6 years? I'll second.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Margaret, would you like to take the roll?
Yes, Chair. Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Prevatelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodby,
Yes.
Commissioner Summers,
Yes.
Chair Haveman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you for coming tonight.
I want to draw the attention to anyone watching on Zoom or YouTube. Any interested party can appeal the decision of the Planning Commission by paying the fee listed in our fee schedule and submitting a letter within 5 business days of this hearing. They can submit it to my attention.
Okay. Thank you, Margaret. And Margaret, is there a director's report this evening?
Yes, Chair. I want to inform the Commission that we will be holding a study session for the much anticipated Northgate project on September 24th. That will be a hearing before the Planning Commission. No action will be expected or required. We will be speaking specifically about the project. It's a campus. It has 2 phases. It goes to 2040. It's a lot to take in. So the first meeting will be to talk about the project. We will give a brief overview of what it consists of. We will definitely be focusing in on what's changed and where we are now and what's the current submittal. Again, taking questions from the commission, taking questions from the community. We do expect a full house that evening. A number of you may have been at the community meeting held by the development team yesterday. I was told by the development team that over 100 residents went to that open house. So we are expecting a full house for our study session. Then on October 29th, we are expecting the full project to be formally before the commission for consideration and possible recommendation to City Council. That will include the full staff report, responses to any questions we received at the earlier meeting of the commission, draft resolutions, findings for overriding consideration. There are parts of the EIR that are going to require those findings. So all of the documentation necessary to take a recommendation will be before the commission that night. I imagine that we'll be focusing again on the project, but moreover on the EIR process, what the FEIR is, what's in it, the mitigation reporting program that would be part of that. That's the mitigation reporting program is kind of the conditions of approval under the CEQA side of the project. Going over the resolution, going over any and all questions that come up. There will be another, again, we would have a brief presentation, but most of that will be, I think, after the presentation ends, taking questions and hearing from the public again. So it's really coming in. There are a few other things that'll be coming this fall. I do want to note that October meetings are different. They're not our typical second and fourth due to how we do meetings on months that start on a Tuesday. It's a long story, but the short version is those are unusual meeting dates, and I will be reaching out and confirming quorum for the first meeting in October if we need to have one. And but please let me know if you will not going to be available either September 24th or October 29th. If we don't have a quorum, we have to adjourn. We cannot hold a hearing. So it's imperative that we have a quorum for those meetings. That concludes the planning manager's report for the evening.
Okay, thank you. And do we anticipate having a meeting 2 weeks from today?
I don't have anything slated for that meeting. It's possible if I could pull together an informative study session. I keep trying to bring those to you.
Great.
But I will look into that. But at this point, I have no projects agendized for the hearing.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Margaret. Do any of the Planning Commission members have any communication for the commission?
I just have 2 brief communications. So one is I just wanted to notify my fellow commissioners that the City Council took action to approve a temporary homeless camp down by the San Francisco Bay Trail, along the San Rafael Creek. So no action needed or anything like that on our part. It's just an FYI for you. It's going to be, it's going to have 47 tent units for people. And I think it's going to be a 12 to 18 month period. And Then the other thing that was kind of interesting, recently, the city council approved essentially an acknowledgement, I believe, of a sea level rise report from the county, which is also an interesting read.
Oh.
So if you want to take a look at that. So just a couple things that sort of like relate to our work, but didn't fall within our purview and we were reviewed by city council.
Great. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just real quick on the schedule, and then, sorry, I'm the newbie and just onboarded today, so that I can't make that September 24th meeting, which is a shame. But since it is a study session with no action, I'll make sure that I watch the meeting in its entirety subsequently. So I'm ready for whatever action's coming after that.
Thank you.
And I'll need to learn
Commissioner
the excused absences versus, pull up the chat.
All right. Thank you, Stuart. Anybody else? If there are no further communications, then I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. We are adjourned.